The first matter on the agenda is the public hearing for York Township Highway Department. This is Z22-000006. It's a request for variation to reduce the side yard setback from 20 feet to approximately 10 feet for a new accessory building. Petitioner is York Township. The matter was published in the Daily Herald on March 23rd, 2022. We had a prior hearing on this case, which is a separate zoning petition number. So, are you familiar with the record in the old case?
Not really.
Okay, well then we won't adopt the record. So I need a survey and a site plan as a petitioner's exhibit number 1 and 2.
Okay, I understand those were submitted previously, but we can.
Yeah, but that's what I just said. We're not using that whole record, or we are using that whole record.
Yeah.
While you're looking for those, let's have, are you both going to testify? Okay. Are you going to answer the questions? I need to know who needs to be sworn in. Is your right hand to be sworn in, please?
You do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give at this cause and out hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
I do.
And what is your name, sir?
Andrew McCann.
What's your relationship to this case?
We are work with Dick Schroeder as a civil engineering design support partner.
You have your exhibits.
These are
So take these as. This is a topographic survey. You did the survey, sir?
no. Firm.
Which one of these shows what's on the property today? Total?
Yes.
That'll be petitioner's exhibit number 1. Site plan will be petitioner's exhibit number 2. You were sworn in, so I guess you've already identified yourself. But spell your first name.
Capital M, little C, K, capital K, E, and N.
Okay, you step up to the microphone and give us your presentation.
Okay. So York Township Highway Department proposes to add a new storage building on their site at 419 West 475 Roosevelt Road. The purpose of the building is to put materials and equipment inside an enclosure. Currently on their site, there's an existing building that's in poor condition. It's going to be demolished and replaced with a larger building footprint. What you see on this exhibit, the orange line surrounding.
You want to use this as, what is that, an aerial?
That's an aerial.
Okay, so that'll be petitioner's exhibit 3.
Yes. So what the red box represents is the footprint of the proposed building. The variance that we're going to talk about is based off of the property line, which is basically this orange line at the top of the page. The existing large building you see to the east is their main building for where they have their big end loaders, their really large equipment.
This building does not yet exist, right? So is this an aerial with some graphic drawn in or what?
No, this building does exist right now, that garage. The red box is to demonstrate the size, the footprint of the new building. That will be in approximately the same location. So
Which way is north?
north is up. So the object is to get the north line of this new building in line with the existing building, and I'll show why that is required with some of the function of the existing building, which, skipping ahead a little bit, is because the garage door opening for that building is right there. But before I move to some more of the details, I want to just give some context for the neighboring community to this yard. You have the Goodwill facility to the north, the self-storage facility to the west, Joint Fabrics to the east, and then about 170 foot from the south property line is our residence. The south end of the Goodwill site is basically a loading area. There's a retaining wall here. The Goodwill site's about 5 feet above grade. So basically, the objective is to recode and get these materials that are currently out in the open on the site and get them enclosed. That's important both from just a general code standpoint. It's the main motivator one of the main motivators to doing this. And also this site is in the flood fringe of the creek. So to meet those standards, we should not, the township would be better served to get those materials out of the flood that are stored, with gasoline, bulk materials, things like that that are currently in the flood fringe.
Is the floodplain depicted someplace on this either the site plan or the survey?
I do have an exhibit that I can hand you a half-size one in my bag. But
Let me ask this.
Sure.
You proposed variation, I think it was otherwise required by the zoning ordinance, because you cannot go within the floodplain or wetland, is that right?
No, the great portion of the site is in floodplain already. So it'd probably be best to move to the next exhibit where I can show some of these offsets a little here.
This is.
I'll give you a copy of this.
So this is petitions exhibit 4.
So what we're demonstrating here is, here's the garage door opening for this large building right here. This is the proposed footprint in black, right here at the edge. That is shown also in red on this photo here. So what would happen is, if the building was shifted to the 20-foot setback, you would basically have large equipment driving in and out of the facility that would frequently clip the edge of the building. The front end loader takes up most of the space right here. So it would be a real hardship to line up the edge of the building at the 20 feet offset, because it would center right on this garage door. So that is the key to asking for this variance. So this site being on floodplain, we've met with DuPage County Stormwater, and we are going to meet the requirements for elevating the site to the flood protection elevation, which is a foot above the base flood. And in doing so, that's going to require compensatory storage. And we're doing that to meet all the county criteria, compensatory storage at a 1.5 to 1 ratio. So the 2 green spaces left on the site, which are here and here, are going to be excavated for compensatory storage. We've talked this over, had discussions with the stormwater group, submitted some initial materials to them for an early review. And we're all on the same page now with how to move forward after this variance is hopefully granted, that we submit for permit. Storage. And so that covers the main issues. Again, I feel that it meets the spirit of getting things out of the floodplain as far as materials, no adverse impact on residents if they're outside the sight line of any residential area. The neighboring area, again, it's all commercial, and do not envision any changes to traffic, no impairments along any lines.
Anything else?
John, anything else?
1.3 setback. Proposing matches the existing.
Correct. So yes, it's John pointed out, the 11.3 is a match of the existing setback.
Setback, so the buildings would be in line.
Correct. Correct.
Are there any questions from any member on the board? I don't see any questions, so do you have any concluding remarks?
So we just appreciate your time and thank you for the consideration.
Very much. We'll close the public hearing then with that comment. And I'll open our monthly recommendation session. We'll take the approval of the minutes from petition 0003 Kids World, that's March 3, and petition 22-00013. March 24. It's our practice to adopt the transcript as the
I'll make
minutes.
that motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Motion by Ms. Anderson, seconded by Mr. Schultz. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Now, the first item on the agenda for consideration is the York Township petition. This is the case we just concluded the public hearing. Is there a motion on this case?
Can I make a motion to approve the rezoning request by the York Township Highway Department? I think they proved up their case. There was a couple elements that were a little light at first. Second of all, they are a public entity. I think you give deference to public benefit. In this situation, the public benefits not only York Township, but for anybody that transverses the roads of York Township. And this will allow them to better serve the public. And I think the presentation warrants the granting as it was.
Motion by Mr. Ketter, seconded by Ms. Anderson. We have conditions on this?
Just the normal
Standard conditions.
site plan. It's gonna be a pole barn anyways, isn't it?
Correct.
Is there any further discussion on the motion? Call the roll, please, on the motion to approve.
Member Cutter,
Aye.
Member Anderson. Aye. Member Hakeem.
Aye.
Member. Member Cutter. Sorry. Member Schultz, sorry. I hope.
Aye.
And Chairman Carthel.
Aye, motion passes by a vote of 5 in favor and 1 opposed. So, good luck with your project, gentlemen. Now we'll call West Suburban Development Corporation case, Connors Road case. Let's start with a staff update on this case because there were some different questions.
Hopefully my voice will give out. So we received advice of counsel from the state's attorney's office regarding 2 questions that were brought up during the public hearing. The first question was asked at the public hearing whether or not the zoning board of appeals could place a condition on a zoning case that no changes or conditions or other zoning relief could be applied for in the future. The state's attorney's office notified us that a current board cannot bind a future board from preventing them from applying for zoning relief. The second question was whether or not this case needed to be republished to correct the reduction in parking spaces. It's 344 spaces down to 251. The state's attorney's office notified us that parking variation did not need to be republished, and that was because they requested the correct amount. They testified, the petitioner testified to the size of the building and the correct parking spaces, so therefore requested not be republished.
Thank you. Anything else? That's it. Great. Motion then by
I have
struggled with this largely because the number of parking spaces is less than what it's calls for. Thank you.
I don't know if I need to repeat that, but I've been struggling with this case because of the fact that the number of parking spaces called for is less than what the ordinance warrants. I do not know how we can restrict that to the number of spaces that are asked for or planned for, because there are so many people who will want to come to see a child play, see their grandchild play, the mother, the father. There may be 3 cars for one person. With that stumbling block, I feel that we can't grant a variance for this. And I would make a motion to deny. I also have a problem with the issue of birthday parties and other activities planned. How exactly is that going to configure with the games and other things that are going to be played there? So that's my reasoning, and for that reason, I am rather unwilling to grant it as it stands.
Motion denied by Mr. Hakeem. Is there a second to that motion? I would second it, but I limit mine purely to the request for the variance. I had no problem granting the conditional use, or if they did this as a PUD, and we could put conditions on the variance. It wouldn't be a variance, it would be a condition for the less parking. The testimony by the managing company or something that they would never need this many does not reach the level of any proof that would allow for the granting. And then it seems to me that the presentation, which I will say is far and beyond better than the first presentation, and everything was acceptable to me except for the variance, and I'm just probably a stickler on variances that run with the land. But the hardship, and attorneys have to work with what they have. I didn't consider the fact of a wetland or I think, what was the other, swamp or something. The point is, if it fits within the zoning district anywhere, it has to be acceptable where it's doing, unless it's unique. And I think this unique situation is that the situation that's being presented is, it does not work without the granting of a variance of parking. And as such, then it is unique and does not come into the automatic acceptance under conditional use. So for that reason alone, I would be voting no.
So let me try to clear this up. There's a motion by Mr. Hakeem and a second by Mr. Ketter to deny this petition. The comments appear to relate to the parking issue alone. So can we do a bifurcated motion? Do you want to approve the conditional use and deny the variation? Or do you want to deny the whole thing?
I would deny the whole thing.
All right, Mr. Hakeem indicates that he'd like his motion to stand to deny the entire case. And Mr. Ketter, that's your position as
No,
well?
I was purely the variance. Absent the variance, I'd be for conditional use.
Well,
They just
are you seconding the motion
No.
to deny everything?
No.
Okay.
It's the variance in my case too. I didn't understand your question. I'm sorry. But I would be willing to grant the thing, but it not for the variance.
Let's see if there's any additional comment before we amend this motion, if we are going to amend this motion.
We don't have a motion right now. Or not to a second, so you can't discuss it.
I thought you seconded the motion.
I seconded the original one.
Okay.
And
Okay.
stated my
Okay,
reasons.
so there's no,
That they were not.
okay, then the second fails. Is there a second to the motion to deny the entire case?
I would not That's what I was trying to clarify. I misunderstood you. I don't want to deny the whole thing, but my problem is the variance.
Okay, you made a motion to deny the entire case. Do you want to withdraw that motion and make a substitute motion?
I will withdraw it, and I will state.
Wait, take this way. I'm sorry for the confusion, but I will withdraw that motion. And I will say that subject to the removal of the issue of the variance, parking variance, I would let it stand. So I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
We haven't withdrawn the request for the variation, so we have the petition in front of us, which requests a conditional use and a variation. Do you want to make a motion to approve the conditional use and deny the variation?
Yes,
Make that motion.
so I will make the motion to approve the conditional use and deny the variation requested.
Motion to approve the conditional use is subject to all the various.
All of the
conditions,
various conditions that are already stated there.
which are numbers 1 through 22.
That's correct.
Is there a second to that motion?
I would second it, and I think the conditions were pretty much laid out by council too in his presentations, right? See a problem with those.
Right, so there's 22 conditions. Is there discussion on this motion? Anybody have comments on this motion? We all understand the motion?
I second it, I understand.
All right. You want to call the roll on the motion to approve the conditional use and deny the variation?
Member Hakeem?
Aye.
Member Heather? Hold on. So if I want the conditional use, but I want the variations, so then I don't know, but I don't want to,
Well, we don't have enough thinking through. I agree with your position. And I'm
Nobody's
gonna
telling you to vote no, and
I'm
then
gonna
make
make- No, we don't have enough, people here to grant conditional use and a variation, assuming that these two vote no. We need four favorable votes.
it's four.
So what I intend to do is to vote yes on this motion, but indicate in my remarks that I would otherwise support the variation because of the explanation that we received about the state's attorney's position, et cetera, and then let the county development committee sort it out. Okay, good.
Well, just clarify, maybe I misunderstood what the state's attorney said there.
He said we don't need to republish because you want to,
No, I understood it didn't have to be public, but he said we cannot put conditions on a conditional use, correct?
of course we can put conditions on a conditional use.
On
We cannot put a condition
a variance.
that there be no further requests for relief, amendments, variations, other conditional uses, because we cannot find a future board. That was raised by one of the members of the audience as to whether we could put that condition.
Well, then, how would we, just maybe then, when we grant conditional uses and we put a time period on them, we really can't do that then.
Sure we can. That's our condition. That's what we do. We can't say, and a future board may never extend beyond our 10-year period.
But if we were to say we grant this and deny the variance, they could refile with a new board and get a variance.
Of course.
Okay, so, all right.
Okay. So where are we? We're calling the roll on the motion
Votes in.
to approve the conditional use and deny the variation, conditional use being subject to the 22 conditions. Mr. Hakeem, Mr. Ketter, I think, have voted already on this motion and they voted in the affirmative. Is that right? Do I recall it?
Yes.
Have you called the roll at all?
Wait, we start over.
Start over.
Member Hakeem?
Aye.
Member Ketter?
Aye.
Member Anderson? I with the comments about the denied variations, I think they should all be included. Member Schultz?
Aye.
And Chairman Cardinal?
I vote aye with the qualification that I also support the variation, but just by virtue of number of members present, it is of no effect to have a denial of this motion and a substitute motion because we don't have enough votes. So we'll allow the county development committee to resolve this beyond this particular vote.
Could I make one question?
Sure.
Could either you or Ms. Anderson state for the development committee, and maybe for my education and broaden my knowledge, is very limited already, what the basis is that you would grant the variance?
Because I think the unique circumstance has been resolved. I don't know that it's a hardship, but I think there's a practical difficulty in unique circumstance that has been made, that case has been made for that. So that resolves our voting on the various items before us this evening. And there's no old business, there's no new business, but we have one comment related to an earlier case. And that comment will be read into the record.
This was a public comment submitted via online for the meeting date of 3/17, which was canceled. This is our latest meeting. It is from Connie Schmidt, SCHMIDT. Looking at 3S501 Landon in Warrenville, Illinois, 60555. She is providing testimony and public comments. She states, I am opposed to allowing up to 20 horses on the property near Leading Warrenville South High School and Herrick Lake Forest Preserve south of Butterfield Road and west of Herrick Drive. I own roughly the same amount of land and have managed up to 5 horses on it, although that's quite a bit for that acreage. I would like to make a public testimony at the meeting. Thank you, Connie Schmidt.
That comment will be entered into the record of our hearing this evening. There's no further business, so I think we can adjourn for the evening. And we are so adjourned. Turn the microphone on. Our staff.